being able to play for Murf as a bench coach was incredible. Obviously, you have a better relationship like with the bench coach. He's more personable, can relate to the players a bit more than the manager. And Counts was great. Like I loved Counts, but me and Murf's relationship was just a little bit different because he's our guy.
Tell him first day. Tell him first day.
What's that?
Giants. Tell him first day. I remember that story.
Oh yeah. So I show up. I get traded. I'm in New York, and Dayton calls me. He's like, "Hey, we traded you to Milwaukee." I was like, "Awesome." I know a bunch of guys over there. It's gonna be great. Great fit. Counts is great. So I hop on the first plane from New York to San Francisco, which is where they were playing. It's a long flight. I don't even go to the hotel. I go straight to the field, meet all the boys at the field, and
it's got to be emotional too. Like Kansas City's been your life.
Yeah. But I knew going into that I was getting traded that year. So get to the field, in the lineup the first day, and I'm pretty sure I hit a ground ball to second baseman.
Yep.
And then I hit another ground ball to second baseman, and I think I punched out.
No, it's after the second. We came after the first ground ball, and he goes, "That's just not me. That's not me." You know what I mean? I'm like, "Hey, you're fine, man." He goes, "I'm just telling you, I can hit."
After one at bat?
No,
it was one at bat.
Yeah.
And then the second at bat, he comes in after the second ground ball, and he's standing there and he's ripping it off, and I go, "That ain't gonna work, man. We didn't trade for you for that." he's like,
I was like, Murf, I promise you I'm not this bad.
He goes, "I swear to God, I'm going to get a hit. Next time, punch." He comes back, I'm just shaking my head like, "This ain't going to work, bro." Counts turn to me, like, "Murf, he doesn't get it yet. Stop."
It's like, I think he said something, "Can we get this trade back? Can we send it back?"
Oh my God. I got so many epic stories about this guy, and I feel connected to Murf because I signed to go to ASU with you, Arizona State, when I was 2008, when I was my senior year of high school. So 2009 would have been my first year. So first of all,
and you gave Devin, and Devin Marrero was behind him, and we weren't getting guys out of Miami, but we got lucky, and I want him to pitch and hit. You know what I mean? Which I know you regret because you'd probably be in the Hall of Fame.
I could have been Shohei Ohtani too.
No, I mean it was legit, man.
It was firm from the left side. First of all,
the reason he doesn't talk good about me is because I signed to SC.
We're gonna get to that story.
Didn't even consider it.
We're gonna get everybody. You're getting everybody. Yeah.
I got Prince Fielder, John Lester, Nolan Arenado, and this don't even take my call.
Oh, because you sent Turtle Thomas over, and Turtle offered me 195% scholarship. I was like, that doesn't make sense. There's got to be something to this.
Man.
We were on the Team USA bus in 18U, and some guy just gets off the phone.
This is amazing.
Guy gets off the phone. The whole bus is quiet. He gets off the phone. He puts it down. He's like, yes, yes. We're like, what happened, dude? He goes, I just got a full offer from ASU. One of the other boys goes, hey, everybody raise your hand if you got a full offer from ASU. 25 hands.
Never had it, baby.
Widen that.
Oh, man. What a judgment of character on my behalf. I mean, first year MLB Manager of the year. I saw it at 18, man. I saw it at 18. Yep. So listen to this. First off, I'm going to get into my visit, and then we're going to get into when we saw it. So my visit to ASU.
I might not remember this, but I remember you, and I remember and I remember the phone call 5 minutes before.
It was electric. Listen, what sealed the deal was the beer pong in the water, the pool. I was like, I got something here. But listen to this. And I feel like I can't wait to hear your perspective because I feel like this was your thing. But so the night before, we do a visit, and it's probably about 6 or 7 of us, and it's a lot of the top players.
Do you remember the kids on the?
I remember the one kid, Wilson, because he's the one kid that didn't go out the night before. Walker Kelly, left-handed pitcher. And then at the Aflac game too, you were like, Hoz, we need him. And I'm like, I'm going to get it done. We didn't get it done. So the visit, so we go out that night, about 6 or 7 guys. Some of those other guys will come to me, but we go the night before, dude, and we get a full tour of the ASU nightlife. We end up going to, parties, house parties. I mean, it was amazing.
That wasn't Jenna Jameson night.
No. I mean,
there was one of those.
I wish I would have experienced that one. Ike Davis, I'm going to say right now, Ike Davis was the greatest college visit host, I think, on the planet, because it was unbelievable. It was amazing. I mean, unreal. So we go out, and I mean, this is the first time as a high school kid I've experienced, partying all night. And the next morning we're meeting Murf for breakfast. I think it was like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And, good old Hoz was rolling on about 20 minutes of sleep that night. And we get to the breakfast table, and we're all sitting there. We all sit down, and we're ready to get to the breakfast table. We're ready for Murf to come. And Murf walks up in that thing, and he goes, "You called it right on the head." Pointed to the kid Wilson, but eventually Wilson was about, "Say you're Wilson." You go, "You went out last night." "You went out last night, had a couple drinks. You went to sleep early last night." "Hosmer, you're disgusting. You went out last night, and you clean it up, Walker. My goodness." And we're just like, holy shit, this guy sees it all, man. So unbelievable. Oh,
they
man.
reported in. They all reported in. Dang, we got Hoz laid. He's coming, man.
Oh, man. But so then I end up, fast forward, I end up signing with Kansas City spring training out in Surprise. You guys, Arizona State, are in Tempe, about 45 minutes away. So Moose is my guy. So Devin, my buddy, signs with you the next year. Moose and I get a night off in Instruct, so we go down there to watch your guys with fall practice or whatnot. So, Murf's there. He's like, "Hoz, man, we got you a couple of T-shirts, a jersey, some ASU. We want you to still feel like you're part of the squad, man." I'm like, "Murf, dude, that's awesome, man. Thank you very much. I'll be watching games and all that." And he goes, "Hey, Moustakis, got a bag of Fritos for you." Here you go. And Moose goes, "Yeah, give me those Fritos. I want those Fritos."
We connected that night.
Yeah, we definitely did.
And then
guys
he
are so nice.
got to be your coach in the big leagues, man.
Yeah.
So it all came full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to play for Murf as a bench coach was incredible. Obviously, you have a better relationship with the bench coach. He's more personable, can relate to the players a bit more than the manager. And Counts was great. I loved Counts, but me and Murf's relationship was just a little bit different because he's our guy.
Tell him first day. Tell him first day.
What's that?
Giants. Tell him first day. I remember that story.
Oh yeah. So I show up. I get traded. I'm in New York, and Dayton calls me. He's like, "Hey, we traded you to Milwaukee." I was like, "Awesome." I know a bunch of guys over there. It's gonna be great. Great fit. Counts is great. So I hop on the first plane from New York to San Francisco, which is where they were playing. It's a long flight. I don't even go to the hotel. I go straight to the field, meet all the boys at the field, and
it's got to be emotional too. Like Kansas City's been your life.
Yeah. But I knew going into that I was getting traded that year. So get to the field, in the lineup the first day, and I'm pretty sure I hit a ground ball to second baseman.
Yep.
And then I hit another ground ball to second baseman, and I think I punched out.
No, it's after the second. We came after the first ground ball. And he goes, "That's just not me. That's not me." You know what I mean? I'm like, "Hey, you're fine, man." He goes, "I'm just telling you, I can hit."
After one at bat?
No,
it was one at bat.
Yeah.
And then the second at bat, he comes in after the second ground ball, and he's standing there and he's ripping it off, and I go, "That ain't gonna work, man. We didn't trade for you for that." he's like,
I was like, "Murf, I promise you I'm not this bad."
he goes, "I swear to God, I'm going to get a hit. Next time, punch." He comes back. I'm just shaking my head like, "This ain't going to work, bro." Counts turned to me, "Murf, he doesn't get it yet. Stop it."
It's like, I think he said something, "Can we get this trade back? Can we send it back?"
Oh my God.
But to be going through 162 with a guy like that just makes baseball, the days you're not having fun or the days you are sucking, to just walk in and there's Murf just like,
How about the silo balls?
I don't. We're gonna bring them all up. So
at home on our dugout, I put a piece of tape, and I'd put Travis Shaw's broken bats. I just put 1, 1, 1. Shaw got into it, and he'd be like, "No, Murf, I broke one," and you know what I mean. So I hit like 75, 80. You know what I mean? So then I thought when he got there, I was like, and he's killing it. I mean, he's helping us win. Yelich goes down. He carries us to the playoffs. So nobody can get on Moose. You know what I mean? So I counted silo balls. The guy can pop up to the infield with the best of them.
I could hit a ball directly up and land it on home plate.
In like 7 seconds. You know, it's not like, it's one that the Ponza machine throws out. You know? It's like, so I would keep his silo balls. He would be so the minute he hit it up, he can look over at me.
Oh my! Foul balls in the air. You're just standing there like, all right, that's expected to be caught. So I just I'd hit it, see it go up in the air. I'm like, and then I'd start walking back, and Murf grabs his marker out of his ear.
Not pissed about getting out. He's like, I gotta deal with it.
Oh, I gotta do this.
Murf, so I mean, you have always been known, you know, early in my career, you've always been known as a guy, as a legend, honestly. It's Notre Dame, ASU, college game, and, you know, and honestly, man, this is real, because what's so unique about you, and it's really unique, is how you connect with, you know, people and relationships, and especially players. And it's proven at every level, and these levels are drastically different. I'm talking about college to AAA to the big leagues. For a bench coach, manager of the year, taking a team to the playoffs, winning a division first year. I mean, you can go on and on and on. So, you know, in my opinion, again, feeling connected to you, what I tell everybody is that style to be proven throughout all those leagues is truly impressive. So I want to pick your brain, man, and just kind of get your perspective and, you know, just what is it? What is it that has allowed you to connect with all those different type of players?
You know, when you get to a spot in life when you're a little bit older, you know, you start to make it not about you. When I dropped my ego, which took a while, I wasn't a good coach at Notre Dame, even though we were winning games. I still wasn't good, you know. I didn't know baseball, for one, and it was about me a little bit at the end, not in the beginning. So I started the right way with I love Notre Dame, and I didn't want to embarrass the university. I was working for $7,000 a year. I just wanted to be good and not embarrass you. So we had a lot of success, but then it became about me. And then I got to ASU, and it became about me again, and we won a lot and went to the World Series a lot, but you know, I wasn't good, you know, and it took getting knocked on my ass a little bit. I had that NCAA thing, which was total bullshit, but it was an injustice, but it woke me up. And my kids make a difference in my life. And you start to realize it ain't about you. Honestly, you know, it's not about me. And whenever I started focusing, we came into last year, and, you know, I said for 8 years, I don't want Counts ever to be embarrassed. I want Counts to do, I always supported him like I wanted my staff to support me. I'd never been an assistant. Then I get the job, and I was supposed to go with Counts, but, you know, and then everything wrong happens. We trade Corbin. Woody's out for the year. Devin's out till whatever. We cut the budget $30 million. We're gonna suck. You know what I mean? And again, I just kept saying it's not about me. Make it about that young energy. And we had these young guys go out and make me look good. Hungry players. You remember when you guys were hungry in your career? Hungry players make the manager look good, and that's exactly what happened. Now I got the credit for. I'm still under construction. Not great. There's so many areas I suck in. You know what I mean? But then you're trying to find staff members to help you. You're trying to realize what you suck at. But the most important thing is love the player. When you really find the good in that dude, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. The guy that's hardest to love needs to love the most. So that's what I try to do, is try to, like, and these guys who I knew are comfortable in their own skin, they know I care about them. I could f them. But it's that other guy that you have to spend more time with. Were you there when Thames was there?
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Was that unbelievable?
Oh my God.
This guy wanted to kill me for part of the year because I would just go right at him.
Yeah, he was a snapper too, I remember.
And we became close, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's because he needed that love. And so I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not good. The point is, I've been in good situations, and I'm at a point in life where it's about them. And if you keep it about them.
I would like to ask you, and do not answer if you don't want to answer. That freshman year, it might have been my freshman year. The stuff you said, like with ASU and the NCAA, it was, and I don't honestly don't know much about what happened. I do know you left after that. So even if you don't want to talk about it, though.
I can totally talk about it because, Hoz, what I do is like I look at all the injustice and we can all do this. Like you look at the injustice in your life and then you go, okay, what did it cost me? Reputation. Because the way I handle myself, would anybody in here think we didn't do illegal? You're like, that's a guy, he probably did. You know what I mean? Because I had that, and that's one of the ways. That's one of the ways that you relate to players is they feel like, oh God, he's made the mistakes.
Right. But real quick, so what's cool about this is I'm thinking about this right now, and again, it's like you said, you're learning from your mistakes. Notre Dame to ASU, coming into Milwaukee, that first year you're taking over for Counts. It doesn't become about Murf much. I mean, you're taking over, but now you're manager of the year, second year. It's not all about you. You got the players and all that, but it becomes more of the story. So it's almost like you're getting tested with this again.
No question.
So I love this. So even if, again, you don't want to answer that, how do you learn from that first experience at ASU and what was going on? And then Are we equipped for it now, ready to roll?
So it's funny you equated that. You're the first person that's ever equated that. But again, like, I had a bullseye on me because I was really outgoing. I'd say whatever to anybody. I'd mess with anybody. So when they came around, I mean, the violations that they had, the girl that did the investigation never saw a college baseball game. She was fired a year and a half later for unethical conduct, not dealing with our case. But she had no idea what she was doing. She was a nervous wreck, and I handled it so bad. I was so bad to her. I was so bad to the whole NCAA because I knew I did nothing wrong. And the ticky-tack stuff they're talking about, I'm like, well, that can't hurt me. That didn't give us any competitive advantage. So that happened, and I'm like, and the president's like, this football team was already on probation, so the athletic department was on probation. And then we have another violations, which happened over and over, but they were ridiculous. We didn't log our phone calls. I'm using a university phone. If I wanted to call you illegally, I'd use another phone. Like, we're using the university phone, so how's that? I just logged it. But because I didn't log it, it's a major violation because we did it, all the assistants did it. And then our Sandlot program, still in existence today, how many years later? 20-some years later, started in '95. We're doing so much good for the community, but because the players didn't, they said they worked 4 hours and they found out they worked 3 hours and 45 minutes. This was a legit program, and it still is today. But the players worked it on Monday nights. That was their off day. Because they didn't work the 15 minutes, it's a major violation because it went on for 4 years. 15 minutes, and it was an estimate. You know, hey guys, you're gonna work tonight from 5 to 9. So the program ends at 8:30, we clean up till 9. Maybe they didn't clean up for a half hour. That's the truth. Those are the two major violations. And then they said one of my student managers contacted a recruit. Well, one of my student managers used to play at Central Arizona, or used to coach at Central Arizona. This kid was at Central Arizona. The kid lived down there, went down there, had contact with the kid and said, hey, they want you at ASU. Major violation. I mean, it's so ludicrous that I was so bad at handling the questions and how I handled it, thinking there's no way we just played in the World Series again. There's no way I can get fired. The president saw it a different way and wanted to send a message, and I paid for it. But it really helped me because it realized that, you know, that I allowed that to happen. Why did I handle it so bad? Why was I so arrogant about how I handled it? You know, like, this is a joke. Have you ever seen a college baseball game? I'm saying this to the lady, you know, like, why wouldn't I use just a burner phone like anyone else does to call a kid twice? I never called you twice. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't break the rules. And I was so certain of it. And then it all built up. And even the NCAA today, they would never talk about this case because they know what a joke it was and how bad they screwed it up. And they had it in for ASU because they had so many instances in the past. And our president was going to just make a statement. And what better way to say it than, hey, we're going to take his lead sentence at the hearing was, we fired an iconic baseball coach. That part isn't true, but he was trying to dress it up. We fired an iconic baseball coach. That's how much we're committed to compliance. And so this happens. And I'm on my, and the Padres hire me as a special assistant for $30,000 a year.
How quick after?
Yeah, man, I got some calls. Like it was, but I couldn't get back. I couldn't get back in college baseball. You know, nobody wanted to touch me because everybody believed there was more. And now when you go, like you say, I got 2 scholarships offered to me. I got a car. You know, none of that ever happened. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just go with it now. Like, yeah, we're paying them off. Yeah. Because who cares what they believe?
So knowing how big of a joke it is, when you take that time off and you're getting these calls, does your mind go like, whenever I'm ready to get back in, is it going to the pro game?
I thought I'd go back into college, really. I didn't want to go to the pro game. College baseball is a neat little deal, and we had a neat little deal going. The hard part was getting through the minor leagues and being known as the college coach. That was kind of hard, but it was more hard. It was the hardest part was people really believing that I cheated or that I did something wrong. Because if they're minuscule, why would they get rid of them? Doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you want to keep this guy? It's because of how I acted and because I thought I was above it. And it's just a great lesson. It humbles the shit out of you. It was the toughest time. My 9-year-old at the time, Kai, he went in his closet. He took all his ASU stuff out. I took him out of school that day and said, Daddy's not going to coach at ASU anymore. He didn't question it. He just came, took all his stuff, put it in a pile, said, Dad, I don't need this anymore. Never asked me about it. And he ended up playing there 20 years later, or 12 years later, he ended up starting in right field for 2 years for him.
What is that transition like then? Did you go right to El Paso?
No, I went to A-ball, 2 years of A-ball.
And at first you're special assistant, so are you floating around a little bit, or you go right to A-ball?
No, I float around that year. I don't do much. You know, the people were offering me money to sue the NCAA. It was so bogus. I mean, I got deep into it, but I just decided not to sue anybody. And then I just kind of did nothing that year, take care of my kid, because I had sole custody of my little boy, and it was just me and him. So my daughter was already going to college at Tennessee. So then she decided to transfer to ASU. So it was just me and my 2 kids. And it was really a glorious time in a lot of ways. But I was hurt. I was really hurt in a good way. And then the next summer I went to A-ball, short season A-ball in Eugene. We won the championship, had a great year, won the regular season championship. And then the next year we did again and had a great summer. And then I was going to go coach at West Virginia, University of West Virginia. And then they offered me the AAA job, $75,000.
El Paso.
Yeah, I'm back in it.
El Paso. So you go to El Paso. You got one, Sue?
Yeah. I actually want to go backwards just a little bit. I'm fascinated by people who, like, just the evolutionary process. They want to change and become better, particularly people who want to temper their egos. And when you said that you wanted to make it less about you and more about the players, and you're working on your ego, what does that process even look like?
It's got to be real, man. You can't just say it. You know, you got to live it. And when it's about your kid, when you're raising kids by yourself, you're clueless, man. You don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I didn't have that kind of. My parents were way older than me, so I don't know how to parent. You know, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's really important to me. And then I started thinking about it. Like, every kid I coach is somebody's Kai Joseph. You know what I mean? Every kid I coach, they have parents who love their kid the way I love my kid. Wow. I got to be a little mindful how I treat these guys. I got to be a little mindful about, like it's my job. This profession isn't about the wins and losses. The profession is about, how do I impact this person? How do I make this person believe they're better than they are? When he went through his with the Padres and it just wasn't like going this way still, I literally prayed, like, I'd love to get this kid somehow, just get him. That's a little bit of ego that I'm like, I think I can really help him and make him understand. You don't have to change anything, bro. Just be a little more consistent in what you do. Stop thinking that you got to be this type of player, and be more Don Mattingly, who hits more, you know, and be the defender you want to be. And everybody was trying to get him to do something. And in my opinion, I wasn't there. But,
no, and I remember every time, you know, going to Milwaukee, man, it was such a trip I looked forward to, because not only you, but, Uke as well. And
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear about that, man. That was a tough day for me. I couldn't imagine how it was for you guys being able to be around him every day. But I looked forward to that trip all the time because in BP, one year, first of all, Uke in San Diego called Phil.
Yep.
Phil and
Ross.
yes, calls Phil in the clubhouse, visiting clubhouse. Says, tell Hosmer to get his butt out here right now. Let's go. And I'm like, Uke said that? He goes, yes. So I go right out there, and Uke's waiting right behind the turtle, and I go, holy, he wants to talk to me. But I met him a couple times before that. He asked me to come out there. It was unbelievable. I would catch up with you, and it truly felt, because I was lost in San Diego, man. I was frustrated. I wasn't getting along with the front office. We didn't see eye to eye. We didn't agree with a lot of things because I didn't feel that, man. I did not feel like they truly, wanted me there, honestly. And I didn't feel that connection of Murf truly caring how I was, as a human. I really didn't. And when I went to Milwaukee, I felt that refreshment. I got that check-in from you and Uke. And, Murf is a guy that I remember I met him my senior year in the Aflac game in San Diego. And just hearing him and hearing that mentality, it kind of like just takes you back to that young high school player. And sometimes at that professional level, you need to dumb it down that much and just get back to that.
No doubt.
How do you navigate it at the big league level when there's so much pressure to win?
Yeah, I think you get them focused on, first of all, they have to develop an awareness. I talk about it a lot. They have to develop an awareness of how they fit in the game, nothing more, and once they develop that awareness of how they fit, then it's about it's simple, bro. You can't work, 63% fastball in, and then he does this two-seamer away, and he does that. You got to get all that out. Pitching. You're like, I wish I could do what they say I'm doing. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just, hey, it's a really good heater. You know what I mean? And you got to get to it. You're going to get it. You got to get to it. The other, let it go, bro. If he hangs it, you'll know what to do. You know what I mean? Everybody knows what to do when you throw it in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like when it's stinking thinking and you got all this shit going on in your mind, you can't hit,
How do you, Murf, at this level, man, how do you do such a good job of keeping it real? And I think care about the human. Example A, one thing I saw with Willy Adames is, you said something along the lines of, if Willy comes back here after free agency, essentially you're not doing your job.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm quoting you exactly, but in a way of understanding the reality of the situation. And Willy's a guy that's going to get over $200 million, and we're an organization that's not going to spend that kind of money in this situation. So how do you balance all that? Because, that is what makes the player truly feel like you care about him, and stuff like comments like that.
I mean, Willy did, in his instance, Willy did what it was asked to do. I said, Willy, look, I'm going to bust your ass because you need that, and you're going to be thankful for that. Maybe not now, maybe down the road, and I don't really care. I know it's the right thing. You got to stay on your every day. You got to show every day. You got to stay on your every day. And you're the most clutch player I know. I believe it. When you walk to the dish, I feel great. And it's real. And he performed. All you guys that get those big contracts, right? You're all flawed. You know what I mean? But they're not paying you for the flaw. They're paying you for your mentality of how you bring out your best self a lot. And it's hard when you're not hungry anymore, or when you're disappointed in things and you can't make it a boyish game. It's hard to be great because you know the difference. You're this far from the top being the very best, and you're this far from the bottom being, well, how do you keep yourself there? And that's where you got to check people. And, I'm hard on some guys and I treat other guys different, and I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to be real, and I don't know if it works. And like you said, this is great. Now I've gotten all this attention, oh, you're good at what you do. I'm like, if you only knew, But it's like, I've got 4 or 5 things I really have to do better. But the challenge of getting the attention and thinking this, that, or the other thing about, me, forget it, wipe it clean, go back to basics. It's about the players. How are we going to figure this out? We cut the budget again. We signed no one, as you know. And how are we going to do this thing? How are we going to do this? Every team in our division got better, a lot better, and we didn't sign anybody. So do you complain about it? Do you, no, you can't even think about it. Like, I got these guys, how do we do it? It's going to be difficult. But the winning and losing isn't me. You know what I mean? It's how can we help these guys believe, feel great, play their best, you know.
I think players really appreciate, and correct me if I'm wrong, when the manager or head coach in football takes accountability for where they say, hey, this is what I need to improve on. I need to, along there, right alongside, shoulder to shoulder with the players, because a lot of people will always evaluate players. Oh, they need to get better at this, this, and this. Twice in this conversation, you've already said, hey, I need to improve. I need to improve. And you just recently said there's about 4 or 5 things I need to get better at. What are those things?
Yeah, I can tell you. So one of the things is there's a thing called the black hole. I don't know if you guys know about it, but it's a black hole. It's like after you lose, there's a physical feeling that like, and maybe you have it after an 0 for 5 or an 0 for 4, or there's a physical feeling that goes on that's right here for me, and it's real, it's physical. And I call it the black hole. And I just beat myself up above and beyond. The only thing I can do is FaceTime my kids and fake it for like 7 minutes. You know what I mean? And then they would even know, you guys lost tonight, Daddy, right? You know what I mean? And like, I can do nothing else. Can't work out, can't eat. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just an emotional mess because it's my ego, you know what I mean? Still there, beating my, you know what I mean? And I can't let it go. We lose 2 in a row. The team last year did not have a 4-game losing streak. How does that happen? When 13 of your 26 players, you want to talk about players? 13 of the 26, an opening day, it was their first time in opening day. 13 out of 26, they just busted the right guy, not the profile, the right guy, hungry as hell. So we lose 2 in a row. I call it, I don't even want to go into what I call it because that's inappropriate for any type of media. So it's like, I'm just, in a bad spot. And I got to be better than that because that ain't about me. What do they need? If I'm so self-absorbed with me, what do they need? So that's what happens, you know what I mean? But it's still there because it's real. And you can say what you want to say about, well, you know better now. No, it shows up. And I'm just a different person. And I have to work on how to flip the switch. My kids really help, but how to flip the switch? How do I force myself? The second thing, pitching decisions, like sometimes I'm so critical of your last outing that I forget, especially if I don't love the way you go about it. Again, the guy that it's toughest to love, need to love the most. Sometimes it's tough to practice that. I can say it all I want, but do you practice it? So then sometimes my pitching decisions have to be clearer and better for the big picture. Third thing, I pull back from the dugout sometimes because I interact with the umpires too much, and I got to be better. I got to be better with umpires. You know what I mean? I'm aggressive. You know what I mean? And that doesn't help. How's that helping? Oh, he stands up for his players. I got to do it in a better way. In my nature, I can't be soft about it. They don't believe me. It's not. So I got to figure out a better way, and I got to stand closer so they see me more and not just pop out when I'm going to be aggressive.
It's a long
Break
list.
the tag is gone, never coming back.
There's some funny stories about me and you and umpires too that we can dive into later. But again, on like kind of what Murf is saying, like as a player, you see all this stuff that he does, and you do know that he's on your side and he's like ready to go. When he does jump out at the umpire or whatever, it's like, oh, let's go. Like I was wondering, you went from bench coach being, our guy to the manager the next, essentially in spring training. Like, how did you make yourself better? Because there is a difference between being
totally different. Yeah,
so,
totally different. I know the role,
right?
You know what I mean? So because I'm so old, the role, right? And I knew the staff, and I knew how I wanted to be. It was kind of programmed in my head. Okay, how am I going to do this? But you can't lose. You can't lead with power. You lead with truth, authenticity. You know what I mean? And you have to earn the influence. You have to earn the impact. your words only count if they trust you and believe in you. And the only way they're going to do that is if they know you love them. And the discipline that you're putting forth, they understand like that's for them, you know?
Yeah.
And they got to be part of that, those agreements. Whatever agreements you make as a club, the players got to make those agreements. Like, this is what you guys are going to do. It's not what I'm going to do. No, we don't want to do that, Murf. You know, like, what are we going to agree on? And then they go for it. What are we going to agree on when we get punched in the mouth? What are we going to agree on? And, you know, it's nothing you guys haven't heard. So it's just authentic. And a guy like Yelich, I'm telling you, he only played 73 games last year, but he was as good as anybody in leading. And he's not a leader type, as you well know.
Yes.
But sometimes leadership is caught and not taught, you know? And just the way he acted, the way he carried himself, he led those young people.
Yeah,
They respected it out of him.
And you having that relationship already built up with Yelich and the trust that you guys have already had, you know, you can almost just let him do what he needs to do in the clubhouse because you know he's going to take care of business on that end, and it allows you to not have to do the things that you don't really want to do. You know, if there's something that needs a check, Yelich's going to be there to check in. That's a powerful dynamic in the clubhouse, as we all know, to have that guy, especially former MVP, phenomenal player, and to have that guy be the guy in the clubhouse. You
wouldn't have believed it, man. It was a Yelich that, and you knew Yelich during his greatest years. It was better than that because his on the field play, he was going to be in consideration. He was going to win the batting title for sure, and then he would be in no disrespect to anybody else, but he was 315 with the way we were playing and the way we were moving runners. I mean, it was all him, and but to see him be with to see him help Terang, to see him help Sal, those guys hang out after, and to see them just sitting there like, tell me more, you know, and just the way he lives his life.
Yep.
You know, he's clean and he does it right, and he knows right from wrong.
Oh yeah, I feel like he's a big part of this next answer to the question I'm going to ask you, and I love that I get to ask you this because each team, it's a different message, right? Like everyone has their core fundamentals, but each team, especially at the professional level, when you break spring, it's a different message for each team. And your guys' team, your personal situation, I know your personal situation doesn't have anything to do with the team, but in reality, that team situation was a unique one. Counts goes to Chicago, that's your division rivalry. I mean, for a guy like Yelich to be in there, that helps a lot. He can control and take a lot of that with the players, but I just want to ask you so bad, and I want to pick your brain because that's a unique situation, and how do you go about that?
Really, I put no energy into Counts going to Chicago. I mean, we talked every day in the day he took the job, and we talked after that about me coming there. I met with the you know, like that was where I was going to go. So Counts was really authentic about everything, and I told him, Counts, I'm going to take the job in Milwaukee, and that was it. And then we still called each other, and people would be surprised, but we were still great friends and saw each other and joked with each other about the same stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always will be. I'm close to his family. I'm close to his kids. You can't ruin that relationship.
No.
You know what I mean?
No,
because we yell
in.
across the dugout at each other, or somebody does on our team says something. You know how things go in a baseball game. It'll never ruin that relationship. I don't see it that way. I care about him. I care about Michelle. I care about all his kids. He cares about my kid. My kid played in the major league game yesterday against Counts, and sure enough, Counts went into him, you know, before the game, and when he got in the game, and it was just incredible, you know.
Yeah, everyone knows you coached him at Notre Dame. You guys go way back, so I love that I get to ask you that because I know that bond is always gonna, always gonna stay there. And at the same time, you know, the questions you answered earlier about having to get better, you know, Counts again why you guys are so close. You became his bench coach in Milwaukee, gave you an opportunity at the big league level. We all know how that relationship is, but when you were, you know, in El Paso in AAA or coaching in the minor leagues, getting better and trying to get better on yourself, was it harder away from the field? Because at the end of the day, you didn't know if you were going to get a big league opportunity at a manager job at least, or was that the feeling?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know. I got the interim job in San Diego in a
and that wasn't a
pretty
a
difficult spot.
shot,
Well, I mean,
right?
it was a pretty difficult spot,
Right.
but it taught me a lot. It was miserable. I didn't handle it well. I was miserable. I couldn't kind of be myself. There was moments that were good, that was on me. And then Counts called me that day, the last day of the season, and said, be the bench coach. And that was refreshing. And then he kind of wanted a mentor, like, okay, I've never coached before, help me out. And he ended up mentoring me a lot. I learned so much from him, you know what I mean? And you wouldn't think that, you know what I mean? But just the way he had to be himself and he had to make his decisions. You know, after the first 3 years, I went to Counts, I sat down, I said, Counts, I'm not helping you, man. I'm really not helping you. I don't think I'm worth it. Tell me, you know, put me in a different job or something. I don't think I'm helping you. And he looked at me like, are you crazy? You know, I'm like, Counts, I don't do anything. Like, come on, you know, give me something, or I'll go work someplace else. I don't want to be here if I'm not really helping you. You don't need to have any baggage.
And why is that? Because as a coach, you're not.
That's how I felt. Like, I'd never been an assistant, and I didn't feel like I was impacting anybody. I didn't feel like I was.
You didn't get a ThinkPad yet? What are those iPads they got?
No.
But is
They
that
kept
why?
me away from that.
Is that? Are you seeing all these coaches with reports and just like, am I doing enough? Is that? Or
Yeah, no. I just felt like my influence on the team wasn't there. I didn't feel like. I really didn't. I didn't feel like I was doing enough. I got to do more. But then we just got closer and closer and closer, and he had taught me so much about the big league game. He taught me the big league game and how it kind of works. And I might have contributed a little bit. I don't know. You know, I tell everybody to this day, I was supposed to mentor him, and he ended up mentoring me. And I'm really thankful for that. And that's why I'm just thankful to him. I wouldn't be in Milwaukee without him. And I know he left, and a lot of people had hard feelings about it, but he did a great job, and you know, he's a friend for life. You can't shut that off. It's so real. It's like family, you know what I mean? It's just real, you know.
Awesome how that played out.
If anything, what I witnessed was you just being able to be there for Counts, you know?
Right.
Counts is always like, he's awesome off the field, a great guy, great human, but when that game starts, about 10 minutes before the game starts, this guy is fully locked in, and he just walking back and forth, and you know, I tried to mess around with him a couple times, but having you there could only have just like, it's like a calming influence. It's like, all right, like I know Murf's right by my side, and then that just kind of trickled down to everybody else in that dugout.
It's funny, Hoz. People would say, how come you don't stand right next to Counts? You know what I mean? And then I joke, I'm like, I don't want to be on TV, man. When you're getting older, man, that doesn't look real good. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't want to be on TV. But the truth is, we could look at each other, or he could just kind of turn a certain way, and I knew where his mind was going. Well, and it's not that incredible, you know, because we've all been in the game so long. Oh, hey, it's time to think about, what do you think about? He didn't even say the word sometimes, you know what I mean? And if I had a definite thought, I wouldn't go to him with it. There'd be a time when he'd get fairly, you know, we'd be walking back, or I'd be going in a different direction, and I'd say, I'd do it. And he knew exactly what I was talking about. You know what I mean? And
I feel like too with a team, like bench coach and manager, you definitely have to be in sync like that. And I feel like the hope as a team is to get, you know, everyone to understand their role. If you're down in the bullpen, we always say, it's almost like before the phone rings, you should know this is my spot and this is my opportunity. And late in the game, the guys that are role players on the bench, they know, hey, you know, this is my opportunity if the situation plans out or whatnot. My feel is always like, as a manager, you always need, you know, the X's and O guy and the, you know, personality. And, you know, you obviously have both of those, your bench coach and you. Like, what do you look for in that? And like, I feel as well, I would need to know the bullpen stuff. I don't know anything about, you know, a lot of the guys talk about getting dry humped or what that life is like. So I would have to rely on someone on the pitching side. What do you rely on a bench coach, and what do you look for?
Yeah, I mean, we have a whole staff of people that are helping me during the game and different things for different people. But your bench coach has to kind of be like, hey, you like what you're seeing, you know, like type of thing. And like, hey, God, he doesn't look right today, man. You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't want to verbalize that to anybody else, you know what I mean? And you have other thoughts like, yeah, I should have played so-and-so today, man. You know, that leg's bothering him, you know, that kind of, well, it's too late now. You know, I can't just burn my bench, you know, that kind of thing. Or I challenge the bench coach, like, hey, think about, you know, they're going to bring so-and-so. Who's the best guy for him? Do we fire our bullet in the 5th with 2 men on? We do that now, or are we going to get him? We save him and we get him later. So kind of gauging where the game's at, where it can be. Starting pitchers don't go very long anymore, so you're forced with that decision a lot of times. They bring in pitcher 8, just brought up from AAA. And there's 2 men on. Do you fire your bullet right then, or do you hold off? And if you fire your bullet, what's the ramifications later when Kenley Jansen comes in? You know what I mean? What are you doing? I'm okay right on right, Kenley Jansen. I think sometimes lefties are, when he was going, remember, like sometimes right on right was better than you guys facing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the bench coach got to help you with that too. Yeah. Hey, remember Murf? So that they're great, and the staff is great.
You get the freedom to make those kind of in-game decisions. You hear a lot of the time that a lot of the front offices will have an impact on how you manage the game.
Yeah, they try to fill you with as much information. So before every series, I'll meet with some guys in the front office, and they'll give me all the nerd stuff. You know what I mean? And it's what I embrace it in that that's where they're coming from, and that's what the numbers are saying and the trends are saying. I can't say I don't listen to it, but when it comes right down to it, you're going to play who you play. I made every lineup. I made every change. Yeah, the front office isn't like that for us. They're great, and we collaborate every morning. Like my meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30, I'll have 75 people in the room, and 40 are from the front office, and we give them nicknames, and they take the same anybody else takes. You know what I mean? And they know if you're going to be in this room, we're going to collaborate.
Yeah.
But you better have thick skin because guy presented this morning and gave himself a nickname, and I had to tell him, like, hey, look, we'll call you whatever the we want. And he's thinking, like, they didn't tell me this shit at Harvard.
We need to get the Hard Knocks going in Milwaukee out there, man. Murf, how do you know? How do you know when it's time for a guy? When it's time that baseball's a game of failure. Guys are going to go through rough patches, especially young guys. How do you know when it's time, like, okay, this guy, we need to start loving on this guy, we need to talk to this guy? Not a results-oriented thing. Is it when the guy starts to, like, make a mental mistake and you kind of see that the game's just mentally getting the best of him?
Yeah, look at Chourio last year. We put this 19-year-old kid on the team. We make the decision early in spring training. I think it's best for the kid to know. He's missing fly balls. He's not himself. Every old-time scout and every front office person, every analytics person tells me this kid's the real deal. And he's got a beautiful smile. He's genuine. You shake his hand, you're like, wow, there's somebody in there, It's not about him. He generally loves baseball. He goes out. Hoz, you should have seen spring training. We're looking at each other like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is the dude? It was awful.
Really?
It was awful. Like, swinging every pitch.
You guys are giving him a pretty big contract, right?
Gave him relatively big contract for a 19-year-old. Mm-hmm. And then, we make the decision in spring training, you're going to make the team. Even though he had done nothing, we knew it was best. And I just was trusting these people that tell me he's good. He starts the season and it's awful. He's not laying out for balls. He's tentative. Well, you saw what happened. From June on, this guy was a monster. At the end of the year, no one on the team, Yelich was out. No one on the team you wanted at the plate other than Chourio.
The postseason game,
incredible.
He just 2 homers in that first against the Mets. It was unbelievable. Blasted these balls. And, like, as a fan, you forget that this is a kid. Like, this is a kid playing baseball. First time ever in the postseason, and it didn't seem like the moment was anywhere big enough for him. And
you didn't want any other guy at the plate. I'm telling you, it was like Freddie Freeman coming to the plate.
Yep.
You wanted that guy at the plate. It was amazing. And just 4 months ago, it was like heater in, slider, heater up, slider, see ya. And you're like, wow.
No.
But it was the team. It was Willy. It was Contreras. It was Yelich. It was those people around him, some guys on our staff telling him, you're going to get it, man.
Yeah.
You're going to get it. It's going to happen.
Is there at any point during that time, it's like, man, we maybe might have jumped the gun on this a little bit?
lot of times. I mean, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And you got to play him enough
Yeah.
because he's got to go through it. Yeah, the ball wasn't even coming off his bat. It was so in his head and so mental. But to have that 19-year-old get through that in the big leagues, no send down. Credit to the front office because we didn't even talk about it. Like, we're going with it. This is our guy. And then we were winning, and you kind of overlook it a little bit. And when he came on, it was like, holy smokes. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
He's one of those
that's
guys.
gonna make him that much stronger mentally too. Because
Oh, God.
a lot of people too with baseball, when you make that decision for him to break with the team, you make that decision and you trust it over the course of a long period of time. I'm not
Right.
maybe 162 or maybe 130, whatever it is, but it's a long course, a long period of time. I feel like in baseball, it's so easy to get emotional day to day. So what was it with him those early days in a bad spring that just told you, I got to stick with it?
Yeah, I don't know other than I made the commitment he's on the club and we gave him a big contract. So I second guessed myself and everything else, but then his spirit and how he handled it, like he wasn't complaining. He wasn't blaming anybody else. His smile was still there. It was really remarkable, you know?
It's awesome. And I'm
And
sure
then-
for like Willie and those guys to be
They were
around
great,
him.
man. They were great. They
That
hit
had
with
a
him
big
every
thing to
day. They took him out there every day. He hit on the field early, and it was just a matter of time. And then to see it happen again, I'm the beneficiary of this. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, this guy's a great manager." Slow your roll here. But like, you know, it was like this guy was special. You know,
But to
Yeah,
unless
no-
you have a great manager, man, a great manager understands to sit back and let that all happen, because I feel like a lot of managers would want to get in the way of that.
What's interesting, and that's kind of was going to be my question. We've been talking about college head coaches versus major league managers, and someone who is, or in college, even in football, even in basketball, a lot of times that position has a very strong ability to create the culture for the team. Not only are you the chef, but you're getting the
Right.
ingredients as well. You now as a manager,
you're brainwashing the hell out of
yeah,
what you're trying to say.
yeah, no, you can do all that, but yet, how do you do that as a major league manager? I guess
Yeah.
actually maybe talk about the differences between head coach in college versus managing in the big leagues and creating culture.
Yeah, 18 to 22, that's a different age group. You know what I mean? And even like when Ike Davis was a junior, there was a respect and I'd let him get away with some things. You know what I mean? But I also would ask him to babysit my kid when I had a thing, so he knew like I got to be responsible. That was probably a really bad decision. You know, him and his girl would come over and they'd babysit Kai, and I would be like, I'm showing him that I trust him, you know. And but by the time he was a junior, fine. But freshman year, whew, it was ugly, you know. And mom and dad are involved and things like that. But I was pretty like, and you set that culture. Nobody's going to ruin it. You're like in control, and there's some brainwashing type stuff going on. You spend a lot of time on it. They know who the boss is. They don't want to cross you, and it produces some things. You can't do that in the big leagues. That's ridiculous. It's their team. It's about them, the player. It's not about. And pitchers are entirely different. They have their own different world, but you have to bring them into the world. Like they have to be part of the agreements. They have to be. I had a leadership group this year, and there's got to be a starter, a reliever, and anyone else who's super experienced. They got to be in there, and they got to talk about, hey, what do we got? And the rule is, in the leadership group, we don't talk about them, the young guys. Let's talk about us. Where are you at, Moose? What we got? You know, well, we're not talking about Chourio. If you guys in this room are right, we're going to be all right. So it was Willie and Contreras and Freddie Peralta and Yelich and Miley. And it was like, Woody was like, okay, get it straight. We got some beef going on. What do we got? Here it is. Let's get it out. And those meetings are hard, man. And when they don't talk, you got to prompt to talk. You know, hey, where am I screwing up? And Murf, you're squeezing it a little tight, man. We can see it. Thank you.
How often do you guys meet? You and the leadership group?
Once a month. We meet with the team once a month. We have a meeting called What You Got. It's like, what you got, man? Where are we at? What do you got? You know, this is the bus. We're on the bus together, nobody else. We don't let certain people in the meeting. It's just the guys on the bus. What do we got? You know, we talk about it.
Here's what I got.
You ever had those? Have you ever had that?
No.
Or what you got, maybe?
We've had leadership groups, but it was always talking about what we need to do with the group. It wasn't self-accountability, but I got one for you because I think it's a new trend in the game now, and I want to, again, pick your brain on how it's handled. Those guys in that leadership group, they set the tone. Guys, whether or not they're a vocal guy or not, guys are watching Yelich work. Guys are watching his cage work. Right. They're watching how, if he's on a laptop, what is he looking at? They're watching all that stuff. I think right now in the game, a big trend, especially for small market teams, is we're going to take a chance, we're going to take a risk and predict that our young superstar is going to have a long 10, 15-year career, and they're, paying these guys because the reality of it is you're beating them, to the market financially. And when I say beating them, it's you're giving them, security, but you're also saving yourself from the $700 million contract with Soto. So that is such a risky move, in my opinion, because a huge factor should be, does this kid realize, he's getting this money, he is now being viewed at as one of these guys. He's going to be a guy people look up to, and if he doesn't work, he's going to create a clique of guys around him. So I know that had to play a big factor in Chourio and doing that move, but how do you handle that, just being the guy you are in that clubhouse?
Well, Chourio coming back, for instance, we call him Jack. Jack won't be in the leadership group. You know what I mean? You're not. You might get paid more than these guys, but you're not part of the leadership group, bro. You're a boy. You know what I mean? Like, go deal with that. Your brain hasn't developed yet. And when I see you start getting involved in, look at me, like a lot of you guys have to be self-centered in your work to get it done, and to be great, and to be confident. You have to make it about you sometimes, but not that much. You know what I mean? There's enough to get me there, but then I want to see Jack become the human that he is, fully developed, and understand that this isn't about me. I don't need to keep focusing on me. My skills are there, my experience is there, my confidence should be there. I am going to do this, because everybody does. But the leadership group is guys willing to talk about themselves. You know what I mean? How am I doing? Are you complaining? Well, I heard you complain about that, man. Like, how can you let the nutritionist beat you today? Like, are you kidding me? That's what you got going? And then there's some uncomfortable conversations, what we could call crucial conversations in that leadership group. They were talking about the scouting report meetings, and one guy wasn't showing up for him, and, I know what the guy wants, and it's right in that room. It's happening right there. You'd be surprised how many things get worked out without even saying anything. He's really special, man.
I love it too, because you said those crucial conversations. I feel like that nips it on the butt instead of it being whispers for 2-3 weeks around it. But go ahead, Murf.
I didn't have anything. I was going to say, George would always say, when your best player is your best competitor, that makes your team that much better. And there's the other side to that, is with Yelich being the competitor he is, and the ability to turn now into a leader in that clubhouse. Like, it's awesome to see, just from playing with him and knowing who he was to being the guy that you're saying he is. It's just so, it's not just great for the Brewers, it's great for baseball, great for the younger generation, and to have him in there, it's just really cool.
What we need, man. I'm telling you, that's what the game needs.
Yes.
These young guys are growing so fast, but they're not running the game. We can't let them run the game. If they want to bat flip and do all this stuff and wear all the junk, I mean, that's fine. You do whatever you want. If somebody doesn't handle the bat flip thing, then that's on them, right?
Yeah.
If I bat flip and I throw it like this and it tumbles and it gets near you,
I'm coming at you.
yeah. Like, there needs to be no other. I mean, it's the only thing, the way this is going to get solved. You know what I mean? The hitting the next guy, I'm going to hit your best player twice. No, the guy bat flips and it comes near you. You either pick it up, break it over your knee, because your adrenaline will. It's hard to do it.
Do the head. Yeah.
Do that. Or you break it over your knee and you throw it at him, or you just run right at him. Like, let's go, man. You're not going to disrespect this game and disrespect me. So I think it's got to be in you.
Yeah.
That the game means that much to me, that I'm not going to let that stuff happen.
Yeah. And for a guy, especially we're still talking about Yelich, a guy who does it the right way. Like
He does.
Occasionally he'll sit there and stare at the homer for an extra second, or in a big, playoff situation, he hits a home run. You're going to get the bat flips or the, firing the boys up in the dugout, but consistently every single day, he is the exact same guy.
But it's you and your teammates most.
Yes.
You hit some big home runs in your life. It's you and your teammates. It's never directed to the opponent.
Correct.
It's never directed to the pitcher. It's the way it is.
Yep.
The actual bat flip shouldn't be in the pitcher's mind. It isn't, well, it's bigger than it should have been.
We had Willy the other day in here.
Willy Adames?
Yeah.
It's
Phenomenal energy. I mean, great energy, great dude. Obviously the postseason. I'm asking you this because I know at the same time you had Winker, and that interaction between them, I was like, I can only imagine how Murf handled this and what he said, and there's got to be some kind of story, but how did that go down?
Well, the thing that people don't know about that story is Wink was on our team the year before, and I pushed to have Wink on the team because I watched him in Cincinnati. You remember the first conversation? You told about it. Okay. So the first conversation I ever had is Moose brought him over, and who are you with?
The Reds.
Yeah, but who was the guy with you? There was another guy with you. Casali? Was Casali with you?
Casali.
Yeah. So they called him over and they said, Murf wants to say something to you. Tell him what and you kept saying, tell him, Murf. I said, Wink, you're one of the best hitters in the league, man. But you kind of act like a douche. You know what I mean? And, like, he did. Wink generally was offended, but was interested. Like, why do you say that? And I'm like, you're just trying to draw attention to yourself, and you're looking at that. And I said, you're such a great hitter, man. So anyways, fast forward. He gets hurt. We end up signing him. He comes to us. He tries to get ready too fast. He's not in shape. He's a lot heavier than he had been. He's not moving good. His body's not moving good. He's not confident. It's a new situation, and he just didn't get on track. And then there were some other things, but I stayed with him, and I was close to him. And we sent him to AAA. He was on the DL a bunch. Did not very much. He didn't do much for us. Got a chance to be on the playoff roster, which was controversial, and didn't do much. Got booed by the fans, which we were shocked at, because the kid didn't do it on purpose, and he was a model citizen with us, and he showed a lot of good. His just body wasn't firing, and it wasn't happening. And I was a big supporter of his. I spent a lot of hours on the phone with him. So then this thing happens, and then we get there, and he came to me before one of the games and said, hey, do you think those guys hit me on purpose? And I'm like, most likely. You know what I mean? Like, you can't watch the home run for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, you can't show up your former teammate like that.
Yeah.
So I told him, yeah.
I love it.
And then the next game happened, and then we played him a week later or whatever it was, and then they were hot and they played great and he contributed. But then how he acted created more, and then there was an altercation between him and Willy. Some tough stuff was said, like tough stuff. You know what I mean?
Man, yeah.
And that doesn't go away. You don't forget that when it's that personal. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying it's unfortunate, but I'm sure that'll work itself out.
Oh man, that story you told me when you first met him with Moose is incredible. And then last one, man, it's an iconic story, obviously within baseball. When Jeff Francoeur went to your team, AAA,
I thought you were going to tell me about Uecker, man.
How the hell you pulled
I knew you were going to talk about Uecker right there. I knew it was like, hey,
man.
what Uecker meant to all of us.
You're so right, man. That's a perfect way. After that, we do have to talk about you, but the Francoeur story first, man. Oh my God,
this is great, man. So what people don't know is like I'm like intense and try to get after it and whatever, but I like to have fun. And so I'm in AAA for my second year in El Paso, and they signed Jeff Francoeur, big leaguer, played with you guys, cover of Sports Illustrated, phenom, great Hoz. Everybody knows Frenchie. So I'd never met him. He comes into camp late. We're already in minor league camp. So big league camp's going on. I don't want to be in big league camp because I don't want to be around that. I want to work with the guys I'm going to work with. They tell me we signed Frenchie, so I meet with him first day. Hey, Jeff, great to have you, man. Well, you're going to hit in the middle of the order. I'll give you a day off. You got to let me know when you need it. If things aren't going the way you want, you got to communicate. This is going to work, man. You're going to get back to the big leagues. I promise you. Get back to the big leagues. Just show up ready to go. I don't need a lot of outside stuff. And by the way, we got a deaf kid on our team. You'll know about it. He's like, deaf kid? I go, yeah, we got a deaf kid on our team. Great young man. He's a pitcher. Just be aware of it, okay? Be sensitive. He's like, great. Shook my hand. Well, I hadn't told Georgie Reyes yet that we were going to do this, but I had been doing that every year in the minor leagues. We did it in Eugene both years, did it the year before in Tucson, and we got people every time. But it's like 2 weeks, you know? Well, the first year was actually longer than that. And it was a better surprise for this kid, because this kid could not believe, even after we told him, he couldn't believe it. Well, anyways, the Francoeur thing starts. So I go tell Georgie, hey man, you're deaf. We just signed this Francoeur guy. He's focused on his own career. He won't know. This goes on for months. He's coming up to me in the middle of a AAA game. We're in Reno, and he's like, why did Rocky put his hand over his mouth when he's talking to George? He can't read his lips if he does that. I said, well, he just wants to feel like everyone else. And doesn't. And he'd go up to George during a game and he'd go, great job, George. Then one time he did an interview for a deaf radio station. Now think about those words, okay? There is no deaf radio station. You can't hear it. He did an interview with them.
Wait.
Was Cody Decker involved in the filming of all that?
Yeah. Come on. So here's the other thing.
Story.
Like I had no idea Cody Decker was going to film this, but Cody's been on the team for a couple of years. He knows about this skit that we had done every year, and he's filming things. And then he comes to me. He goes, "Look, I want to make film." Well, I have no social media awareness. Like I'm not on social media. I don't know about Twizzler or whatever it's called, or InstaFace or whatever it is. So it's like, I don't know about that, but he's going to do it for that. I had no idea anybody would ever know about it. You know, maybe internally people would see the film. Well, he does this terrific job filming it all, and we got to tell him now, because he went to dinner with George and his wife.
This is amazing. Unbelievable.
And then he was asking him questions like, well, how do you guys communicate? Like, and George's wife just goes, we just text.
Before you do the ending, the deaf radio interview, what is this?
He stood there like it was on TV, and hi, I'm Jeff Francoeur from the El Paso Chihuahuas.
God.
Oh my God.
So then we film it, and if you haven't seen it, it's called On Jeff Ears, and it opens with, I think the first scene is like George standing there, no, Jeff, I'm not deaf. And we told him it was MLB wanted us to watch this film. We were in Tacoma. MLB needs us to watch this film about gambling or something like that. So they're all sitting there and we're all together, and the other guys knew. And Frenchie just sat there and he just didn't react. It was just like, you've got to be shitting me.
Oh my God.
It's all going through his mind.
For months and months.
We would set up where George was turned around in the outfield, and a guy hits a line drive eventually in BP towards him. And guys would be going, George! You know what I mean? And he just hit the ground. I mean, but we're trying to play a competitive season. Yeah. Like he'd come up to me, be on deck or something, he'd go, man, I want to win this for George so bad.
I can't.
And it was like, I got to tell this dude, man, I can't do it. So then we have the meeting, we surprise him, people are going crazy. He's so pissed. But he's such a great human that he accepts it well and everything else. But I think it's over. And it's not going to, nothing else is going to happen. Sure as hell, Decker puts it out and it gets millions of views. And it's a big story. And I felt a little bad for him because it doesn't make him look aware, but he's so focused on what he's doing. And he went back to the big leagues. We became great friends and always will be. And yeah, I got a special bond with Prince. I used to pitch him. He'd always brag about pitching.
Oh, he doesn't talk. He doesn't stop talking about it.
Yeah, and I would pitch him, and he'd come in and be like, "Hey, man, how was that?" You know, and you can't tell him like, it's a little light, Prince.
Little soggy.
No, I mean, 91 slider, and he was the best on our team. Like the way he treated guys, he was tough on guys in a great way. I mean, we had a pitcher, Sullivan, and Sully would tell everybody, I'm throwing 95. I can't understand why they don't want to bring me to the big leagues, you know? And Frenchie'd be like, Sully, you throw 88. So he had the guy that did the gun whenever Sully would come in.
Oh, no.
I mean, he'd throw a slider, it would be 88. He'd throw a heater, 88. Sully's throwing and he's looking up at the gun like, you know, what's going on? And you'd hear French in right field, 88, Gary, it's 88. Oh, he's beautiful.
That's amazing. And then, again, Murf, thank you for reminding me, but both you guys, I got to speak about Uke a little bit, so it wouldn't be right unless we got to, you know, share Uke experience and speak on that for a little bit.
You know, for those who got to know him, and I got close to him this year and knew about his sickness, but I mean, he had been struggling with it for so long. He had been through so much in life, but to know like this dude, his whole thing was being there for us, being with the boys. He was all about the boys, and he brought us joy. I mean, it was always fun. He wasn't trying to be funny. He'd never tell you what he's done. He never bragged to the kids, you know, like, hey, you know what I've done? You know how many movies I've been in, or Johnny Carson. He got to know the guys. He would always be respectful. The new player, this is a guy that comes up for 2 days. He'd know him. He'd talk about his family. He'd ask him questions. And it was never talking like this. It was just player to player. You know what I mean? He was one of the boys. I'd say to people, you know, saying he's one of a kind is truly an understatement. You know, he was as genuine. He was what the Brewers was all about. You know, he's genuine. He stayed in Milwaukee. He could have been any place else. He's from there, treated people with such respect. A great teammate, you know, and he's a legend. You want to talk about a legend, man? That's a real legend. And I believe he'll be with us the whole season. Okay. And it was hard. It was hard at the end because when we lost in the playoffs, we all knew, the guys that knew that he was that sick, we knew this was his last game. And that was as upsetting. We stayed up to 4 that night, and the atmosphere was more about Uke's last game than us being eliminated. And us being eliminated, that stung a little bit. How it happened, that stung. But it was about Uke, and he is, he's special.
I feel like seeing Yelich after, it makes a lot more sense knowing that now, but Yelich, you definitely know the boys felt it just by Yelich's reaction after.
Yeah, you know, like Murf said, dude, when you're sitting in the clubhouse and Uke walks in, you literally drop whatever you're doing. And like whoever he's going to sit next to, you try and find your way to get into that conversation any way you can, just because you just want to be around this guy. Like, he genuinely cared about every single person in there, cared about your family, like he said, and he's just one of the boys, and all he ever wanted to do was just be one of the boys. And I was only there for a year and a half, but I felt like I've been there my whole career with this, how a legend, like you said, made me feel, you know. It was just like, again, you talk about the movies he's done, all the TV shows, like he doesn't talk about that stuff. He would always talk about you and like how, like, what happened yesterday. Wanted to break down the game a little bit. Moose, you're doing great right now. You look great in the box, you know, like just one of the guys you just want to sit and hang around with. And one of my fondest memories of Milwaukee is when we clinched and Uke's in there dancing, and like it's a memory I'll have in my head for the rest of my life, because I just hang out with Bob Uecker. You know how special it was, but just again, a legend. And I was fortunate to know him for the little time I did. And, you know, with that kind of person, it's just so special to be able to say that you were able to share that clubhouse with that guy.